Hello, it's Miss Emma and welcome to another 10-minute tutorial.
A little preview.
It's not an ah, is it? It's not a picture of ah in that word because what's the word? You can read, so you know this word is any. So here, this is not an ah. What is it? It's an eh.
I'm going to explain what to do when your child comes to a word they can't sound out. I just need to give you a 2-minute lead in, so just bear with me.
Now, when we start off with teaching phonics explicitly, normally we have a group. So you might think of the SATPIN group. That's a popular one. So, s, a, t, p, I, n. Now, in SSP, what we do is we start off, we take a speech to print approach. So we think about the words like sat, s, a, t, sat. So where would the speech sound sit? Where would the ah sit? Where would the t sit? So we can build lots of words using SATPIN, but we actually start off not with this. We don't start off with that because that's the print. We're taking a speech to print approach. So we need to make sure that they can, they understand that these words are created using speech sounds. So like ant, 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 and we use our duck hands. Ant, and blend, ant.
Duck, duck, and hands, duck hands.
So the children are segmenting those phonemes because we also need to overcome the phonemic awareness deficits because then they will be able to use the phonics. But what we do as well, because when we're going s, at, sat, that's we're saying to the children, right, that's where the speech sound sits, but there's nothing they can see and we're not ready for the phonics yet. What we do is we have the speech sound monsters. So the monster s, a, t would go on these lines. So supposing I've got the word ant, then the word is going to be ant, duck hands, ant. So the phoneme, the speech sound, is going to go there, n is going to go there, t is going to go there. So we're just going to have a visual representation. Oops. T. So we've got ant. Okay, so we've got ant. So we've built the words using phonemic awareness and we're not looking at the phonics. Now this is the phonetic symbol. It's the internationally recognised phonetic symbol for the sound ah. It doesn't mean it's a particular one, so it doesn't mean it's necessarily that one. That is a picture, that is a representation for ah. We call it a picture of the sound ah. But that says, now these are a bit confusing because they do look like an N and a T. Well, they are an N and a T. That can represent s. But there are a lot of representations for s, aren't there? But I want you to think that just means internationally, well, this is monster n. This monster says that phoneme, and this is just the phonetic symbol. So at this stage, we haven't got any phonics. And it's really important, like the monsters, this monster doesn't do an action that's linked with an A. The action is generic just for he is monster ah. So his music, his action, everything is just a generic ah, and the children get to know when they use the monster movements and everything else, it means ah, this means this means t. And that's why we had the speech to print approach. So basically what we're doing is we're just saying the children don't look at that. I mean, they do, but they're not bothered about that. They're bothered about what does the sound, does the monster say, what's the phoneme? These are phoneme monsters. Okay, so ant. So we're giving them the skills before we even start on the phonics. Now, when we do sort of traditional phonics, systematically taught phonics, you know, there's a group and you build the words and it looks nice and simple and nice and logical. But I teach the children who don't find it simple, don't find it logical, and that's what SSP is about. SSP is presuming every child is going to struggle, so let's teach every child in the way that every child's going to understand. We don't wait for them to struggle and then give them a recovery. What we do is we prevent issues in the first place. So what I want you to think is, okay, so we've got ant, and then the logical thing is, okay, so where's monster ah? So we're segmenting, where's monster n? Where's monster t? So we're segmenting and blending, and that means that the child, because of the phonemic awareness and the oral language, is able to say, well, what's the representation for ah? What's the representation for n and for t in this word? So in this word, and that's what we say in this word, that is the picture for his speech sound. In this word, that is the picture for n. In this word, for the monster n. And in this word, as in, obviously you can guess it, in this word it's atant, but it doesn't mean it's going to be all the time. So we've got atant, ant. Now supposing you've got a child who, you know, because obviously although we're working on Satpin, the children are going to see words around them and we want them to see words around them all the time. So what happens when you come to a word? So this is the issue. If you say that's a, and you're sort of a definitive that you're saying that the child's got to learn that's a, the child is going to really become confused when they then see, whoops, let me just move them out of the way. Sorry, I need a cameraman. So what happens if the child sees, they're going to say, oh, there's an a. It's not an a, is it? It's not a picture of an a in that word, because what's the word? You can read, so you know this word is any. So here, this is not an a. What is it? It's an e. So what the monsters do, they'll help you, because what you can say is, yes, that is a picture for at, but not in this word. Like, remember when we said atant, so that's a picture for atant in this word. Well, in this word, no, it's not a picture for. So if I tell you this is the word any, e-n-e, so we've got three speech sound lines, e-n-e, e-n-e. So which is the e, which is the n, which is the E. And even though the children are on Satpin on the green code level, second week of prep, you're investigating this higher level code. And actually in most phonics programs, they would never use the A for an E. And what they do is they say, oh, well, let's do that as a sight word, as a tricky word or whatever else. But actually you think about the code. How often is that a picture for a? I want you to spend the next day and I want you to look at as many words as you can and see what does it represent in that word, and you will find there are hardly any words that you see that represents an a when you're looking at just ordinary writing, ordinary words. So what we want the children to know from the beginning is you may not know what that represents in this word, so they get into the habit of saying to you, tell me the word, so you can't say sound it out because they only know that that's an a so far. They've not learnt anything else. So what are they going to say? A, n. Now, if they're in the green code level, they don't know what this is yet anyway, or they might just have seen it before as a y. So a, n, y, a, n, y. They are never going to blend those phonemes into the word any. How could they? And that's one of the issues with phonics, and that's what SSP helps teachers to overcome, because we teach children the concepts, but what we say is the child learns to say, tell me what that word is, and you need to get out of the habit of saying sound it out. If they could, they would have done. They've looked at it and thought, well, I've used the ones I know and it doesn't sound, I don't know what that word is. Anya, what does that mean? So what they'll do is they say, tell me the word, and I don't want you to say sound it out, I want you to tell them words. So you say, that's the word any, like, have you got any lollies in the cupboard? Any, so make it meaningful, they know what it means. Any, so then they code map, so they're doing it backwards. So they're not doing print to speech because they don't have those skills yet. You're telling them that word, and then they can work backwards they can work backwards, so then they can think, okay, so e-n-e-m-e, e-n-e-m-e, and what they then do is they then find the monsters, monster e, monster n, and monster e. Another thing you can do is, if you don't want to tell them the word, and this depends on how much time you've got and the child that you've got, you know, some children will get very annoyed if you take a long time. They just want to know what that word is so they can code map it. But let's say you've got a child, just try this. So supposing they came to you and said, what's this word? Now I've put them out here as separate cards because I want you to realise that it doesn't matter how many individual letters there are in a word. It matters which one go, which ones together or separately represent the speech sounds in that word. You know that's the word yawn. Okay, so the child has just looked at it they've just seen it in a book, or they might have been looking at this letter, and because they might be obsessed with looking for at or what have you, they might be searching it for it, or you might have it as a speech sound detective activity. Let's look for this in as many words as we can, and let's investigate what it's a picture for in that word. And it doesn't matter what code level your children are at, because you're doing it with them. So they're explicitly practicing SATPIN, encoding and decoding, but at the same time, they're using high level code because you're letting their brains investigate so much more. And they're investigating the things that we'll probably rarely cover in a phonics program, and certainly not for a while. Well, if they're looking at a word yawn in a book that you're reading to them at night, they want to know it then. Okay, so we've got 4 letters in this word yawn, but if you use your duck hands, y or n, y is actually y. We start off with one sort of sound, and we finish, but it's still y. Y is still one sound, y, even though it sounds like it goes up at the end. Y or n, yawn. So we actually know there are 3 phonemes there. So again, we could use our 3 here, y or n, yawn. I am going to use that in a second. But whereas before I said, you know, tell the child what that word is, well, we're not going to do that now. They're saying, I want to code map this word, let's work out this word. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, here are the monsters. These are the monsters. Now, they're very quickly, because of the videos that you can access for free. And if you get a pack, it's just $15 for one of these packs. The children very quickly learn the associated sound. So this monster is y, this monster is or, this monster is n. So that's the phonetic symbol for y. That's why I say it's confusing. I wish we had this. I wish this symbol was a completely different. It wasn't a letter of the alphabet, because it confused a lot of children. But this is much better, because this isn't an alpha. This, all right, it looks like a backwards C, but the children will think, well, what is that? Whereas here they can be confused. You know, they can think it's an N. But anyway, so here are the monsters. So they know, they look at the monsters and they'll think. So if you say, right, well, let me show you, here are the monsters, I'm going to put them in order. And you might actually put them just so that once children start off, they get very good at actually segmenting. But to start off with, please put them on the speech sound line so the brain doesn't, because the children can, you know, you start them from the right and they'll carry on reading right to left and what have you. So let's put them on the speech sound line. So we're saying, well, this is the word. And if the child knows those monsters, they'll go y or yawn. Oh, is that the word yawn? Oh, okay, so y. So that must be the picture for y, and that's the picture for n. I know that because that's in the green code level. Ah, so this must be together the or. So that or there monster, these together must be the picture for or. This is why we code map words, and what that means is, this is just because my printer hasn't printed out grey, but what it means is it's showing the child where it splits. This is split very nicely with just one letter per phoneme, per speech sound. The, e, very. But that's what code mapping is, and it's unique to SSP. It's I've patented it. It's a technique that we have. We've got duck hands, lines and numbers, but it means that the brain really segments and blends and can also visually discriminate how the phonemes map. That's why we call it code mapping. And with the monsters, we'll think about the monsters there, how the monsters map with the letters. And the child's working it out, even though they're only at the green code level, because what we're focusing is on the skills and concepts. So we've got y or yawn, y or, can't really fit that on, can I? Just put them all like that. Yawn. And then actually, if they look on the back of the monster cards, they'll say, where is that y? Can you see it? Yes, it's there. Where is the picture of or in this word? But you didn't know there are that many pictures of or, did you? Can you see it? Or, AW? Just there? Or. And where's the picture for n in this word? Let's have a look. Oh, there it is. So you're not teaching them those, of course you're not. This is the explicit teaching. But every single time you're code mapping and you're investigating a word, the child is looking in the clouds at every other choice and it's going in. So some children are going to learn these and become fascinated with these really quickly, and some children will take longer. It doesn't matter because we're practicing every single day. But as I say, if you're a parent at home, even if your child is learning SATPIN, please, you know, get them to investigate a word. You might just look for this, but when you're looking for it, you're saying to them, well, in the green, the SSP green code level, this is a picture for a, and here's monster a. Oops. But this can only be for a, this can only be a if it's actually the sound is a. So what we're going to do is we're going to play speech sound detective. I'm going to look for as many words as we can and spot it. And when they've spotted that in the word, then what I want you to do is say, okay, that is the word, you know, father, let's say. Let's say it was father. So they spotted it in father. And then you can either, depending on how much time you've got on the child and whatever, you can either say, that is the word father, and then the child goes, father. And then they'll code map it, father, father. So you see there's 4 speech sounds, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 6 letters, but 4 phonemes. So some of them are going to go together. So So in the green code level, that's a, but in this word, what is it? It's an R. And then we might look for the R cloud. And then we might look for the R monster and see if we can find that picture for R in his cloud. Monster R. So for R, the father, that's a picture for R in that word. Here's monster R. What's the picture? Let's have a look. There it is. So there's the picture for R in the word father. So as I say, you do it that way round, or let's see if they spot another word. Supposing they spot the word water. Supposing they went to the water course, or that's a funny A, isn't it? Supposing they went down to the water to have a swim, and they say, oh, look, I've just seen another. Now that's when you say the letter name, because it's an A. This is an A. In this word, what's it a picture of? Which speech sounds is it a picture of?
Practice this terminology. It really works wonders.
So in that one, you might say to them, this is the word water, and then they duck hand lines and numbers it, choose the monsters. Or you might say, well, let me get the monsters out and you work it out. So you get the monsters out. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but actually the children who are working at SSP Green, we tend to use the monster at the beginning rather than the schwa, because they're introduced formally to the schwa in you know, in the purple code level. But so at the beginning, you can do it as were ought or you can just do the schwa. It's up to you and up to the child and what have you, but let me do the correct way at the moment, which is obviously the schwa. So were ought right, so what you'll do is you say to the child, if they know these monsters, and if they don't, put the video on. You might highlight the ones that you want to show them, or you might just say, here's monster were, monster or, monster t, and what monster were. And so they've got to blend the sounds together into the word. Were ought water. So that's the word water. Okay, so which is the picture for were? Well, that's a bit of a clue because it looks so similar. Okay, so we've got were. Can you see it? Yep. And again, they look at it and they might see other ones. Wet penguin. What's that one, mummy? Penguin. Put it and oh. So when they go to it, they learn some were ought. Now I can see that t, so I know that t is going to be there. So I think that must be the or. Oh, we looked at or earlier on. Or, can we see it? Or, yes, it's there. Were ought. And here's the t. Were ought. Can we see that? Yeah, there it is. And whilst they're there, they'll look at some others if they're ready. Were ought. And there's the schwa. And they actually have a little book and they start to collect, well, which one is the schwa. Or they might look in the and you'll actually see ER in there, because as I said at the beginning, a lot of the children find it very, very difficult to distinguish between and the schwa, and at the beginning we just start off with that. It's round about the end of the purple code level that we start to use the schwa, or it's like if you think about the word the, but actually in some cases we use the, in which case there's a schwa and there's a e, so we also start to differentiate that as well. But anyway, don't worry about it if you're thinking, whoa, what? Don't understand, don't worry about that. The children we'll explain it to you. Okay, so so you come to a word, they've spotted that. You can either tell them that's the word and they work it out, or you show them the monster, especially if they already know the sounds, the monster sounds. And so you can say, what sound does the monster say? Because he actually says that sound with his mouth. If you're saying, you know, what sound does that make? That doesn't make a sound. Let's be, children are very literal. If you've taught 2 and 3 year olds, you'll understand that. So this doesn't make a sound. This is the letter T, and it can be a picture. It can represent the speech sound T or the phoneme T.
But it doesn't say anything. It's a letter, no mouth.
So we're introducing correct terminology when they're ready, but we're keeping it simple, making sure they understand. Anyway, so that's a few tips for working outside of the code level, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'm doing this with 3-year-olds, so it's not age specific. And you're doing it out in the environment. So you might look for a letter in many words as you can over the next 2 days, and just say to the children, so what is it to get practice saying that, what is it a picture of in this word? And so they're doing that explicit teaching of their basic phonics, which is a very small percentage of the phonics, that's your 4 code levels, but they're also looking and exploring real words, and often words that are relevant to them. If they're interested in dance, they want to code map ballerina and what have you. If they're into Minecraft, they're going to want to code map something else. So it can be very personalized, very specific.
So I hope that was useful, and don't forget to practice the terminology.